That's great.
All right, I'll remind the witness you're still under oath for purposes of your testimony here today. Mr. Wood, if you'd like to inquire on direct, you may.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
Dr. Warren, yesterday we left off. We had spoken about JJ Vallow's autopsy, and we're in the process of speaking about Tylee Ryan's.
Right.
And I think we left off on talking about her medical history. When you received Tylee Ryan, how did you receive her remains?
So as I briefly spoke about yesterday, I received her remains in multiple bags. 2 bags were in black body bags that were sealed. One of the bags was a brown paper bag with multiple other smaller brown paper bags within that bag. So essentially what we did is the first thing we did is we x-rayed all of the bags. I think we took a total of 28 x-rays. And essentially we were looking for any kind of projectile or weapon fragments, or and what we saw in this case were multiple bones. And there's also a fair amount of what you could tell was debris, which ended up being mud and dirt and rocks. So that's the first thing we did, is we took multiple x-rays. And then we opened each bag and we went through all of the remains. And like I said yesterday, this took about a week. It took a lot of time, but we were able to separate all the debris in the mud, and we were able to get several bones. There were some organs that were still identified, and also some soft tissues that we were able to identify.
What organs were you able to identify?
So the organs that I identified were the heart, the right and left lung, a portion of the liver, one of the kidneys, small fragments of brain tissue, and a few small segments of bowel. Now, just so you know, all of these tissues were charred, they were blackened, they were shrunken. Some of them were partially burned away. So these weren't intact organs that looked like normal organs. They definitely had fire artifact.
And were you able to identify any portions of her skeletal structure?
Yes. So there was a portion of her skull, and then there were multiple pieces of skull fragments. We found multiple vertebral column, actually the full vertebral column from C1 to C7, so the vertebral bones in your neck, and then also multiple vertebral columns in the thoracic and lumbar region. We identified the sacrum, both hip bones, the sternum, both clavicles. And then as far as the extremities, we identified multiple long bones in both the upper and lower extremities, and foot bones as well. And like the organs, these weren't intact, pristine bones. These were bones that were partially burned away, blackened, charred, brittle, with extensive fire artifact.
With the condition that Tylee's body was in, were you able to perform any type of toxicology testing?
Yes.
How did you do that?
So on a portion of the sacrum and the hip bones, I noted that there were still fairly large amounts of skeletal muscle. I could identify it as skeletal muscle. So what I did is I made incisions into the skeletal muscle, and I went as deep as I could to find the best possible sample that wasn't blackened and charred. And we sent a sample of skeletal muscle for toxicology testing.
And did you receive any results from that?
Yes.
What were the results of the toxicology testing?
So it came back positive for ibuprofen. So that's just a non-steroidal anti-inflammatory. It came back for caffeine. It came back for beta phenethylamine, which is just a decomposition product. It also came back for carbon monoxide, low levels of carbon monoxide, and a very low carboxyhemoglobin saturation level.
And were any of those items found in the toxicology report something you could rely on to determine a cause of death for Tylee?
No, there was nothing in her toxicology report that I felt would explain her death.
Your Honor, I'm going to ask that the witness be handed State's Exhibit 176, 176A through 176MM, as in Mike. He has them, but yeah. And Dr. Warren, if you could just briefly review State's Exhibit 176 and let me know when you've had a chance to briefly review that.
Okay.
Doctor, do you recognize State's Exhibit 176 and its subparts?
Yes.
What does State's Exhibit 176 purport to be?
These are photographs that were taken at the time of JJ's autopsy.
Did you take those photographs?
I personally did not. We have forensic technicians forensic autopsy technicians that take the photographs under my guidance.
So you say they were under your guidance. Were you there when those photographs were taken?
Yes,
Are those photographs a true and accurate representation of what you observed regarding JJ Vallow's autopsy?
yes,
And would those pictures aid you in discussing and explaining your testimony and findings regarding the autopsy of JJ Vallow?
yes.
Your Honor, I'd move for that the State's Exhibit 176A through MM be admitted into evidence.
Any objection?
No objection, Judge.
Okay, exhibits 176A through MM are each admitted into the record.
And Your Honor, if I may publish.
Yes, you can publish those. And I'll note on the record also, these are being published to the jurors and the parties and the witness, but not to the public in general. So you can continue, Mr. Wood, with that.
And I've already set it up. They can't see you, Chad. May we proceed?
Yes, thank you.
Doctor, can you describe what's been marked as State's Exhibit 176A?
So this is a photograph of how we received JJ in a black body bag. You can see there's a red seal and also the ruler with the numbers. We do that just to show that this is the case number for the case.
And can you describe what's being shown in 176B?
This is a close-up photograph of the seal or the body lock, number 506559, after it's been cut and removed.
And what's the importance of documenting that?
So we want to document that when we receive the body in the body bag and it's sealed, we take a photograph of it to make sure that it's not cut or hampered with in any way. And then we take a photograph showing that we cut it at the time of the autopsy, just for evidence preservation.
And can you describe what the jury sees in 176C?
So this is a photograph. Once the seal was removed, when we opened up the black body bag, JJ was further enclosed within a black tarp with held together with multiple strips of duct tape.
And in 176D, what did you observe?
So this photograph shows we opened up the black tarp that was held together with the duct tape. And this is the first time that I actually saw JJ's body, which you can see, and we talked about briefly yesterday. At the top of the photo, near the top of the head, you can kind of see there's a white plastic bag that's covering his head. And then his face is wrapped with duct tape all the way from the eyes down to the neck. You can also see that his forearms, wrists, and hands are bound with duct tape. There is a blue and white blanket that was accompanying the body that was resting on JJ. And then you can also see he's wearing a red pajama top and red pajama bottom. And I think I mentioned yesterday, really the only part of the skin that was that you can see right here is the upper arms, and they show evidence of decomposition in the form of a green, tan, leathery appearance with some skin slippage.
And what did you observe in 176E?
So this is a photograph, more of a close-up of the upper body, again showing the white plastic bag better. You can see there is a tear near the top of the head in the white plastic bag. So I was informed before I did the autopsy that law enforcement, when they found what they believed to be JJ, they made that small tear to confirm that there was human hair and that there was a human body in the bag. So to my knowledge, that's where that tear came from. But this just better shows the plastic bag over the head and the duct tape covering the face.
And 176F.
And this is a photograph closer up of the lower half of the body. You can see the blue and white blanket, the portion of the red pajama pants, black socks. And then you can also see that JJ's ankles are bound with duct tape as well.
Doctor, what did you observe in 176G?
This is another photograph with the blanket a little down further, so you can get a little better look at the pajama top. I think the main thing here is you can see there's decomposition, or the pajama top was soaked with decomposition fluid, and there was mold on the shirt. And then you can see also there's a fair amount of dirt and other debris on the duct tape around the face.
One 176H.
This is a very similar photograph, just with the blanket removed. Better seeing the forearms and hands that are duct taped together, and also just getting a view on the a different side of the body.
When these photographs are taken, do they attempt to take multiple angles?
That's correct.
Why is that?
Just so we get the full picture. We have a routine where we take photographs on both sides of the body, the front of the body, the back of the body, just to make sure that we're capturing all angles of the body.
Doctor, what did you observe in 176I?
Again, this is a photograph of the blanket removed, better showing the pajama pants, which were also partially soaked or soaked with decomposition fluid. And you can see there's some white moldy substance on near the right knee or the right thigh.
And 176J.
This is a photograph better showing the ankles that were bound with duct tape.
Doctor, if you can describe what was happening on 176K.
So what we did to remove the plastic bag and the duct tape is we made one single cut along the side of the face and carefully removed it, exposing JJ's face. So you can see JJ's face, at least a portion of his face, has green decomposition discoloration. And then there's also a strip of duct tape that is covering JJ's mouth that essentially runs from jawline to jawline.
Can you describe 176L or what you observed there?
So after we made the single cut and removed the white plastic bag with the duct tape off of the head, we took a photograph of it, and this is from the inside out. So what would be the portion that was covering JJ's face on the inside. And what you can see here is there's a fair amount of fluid, decomposition fluid, and some dirt and other debris within there.
And to be clear, that was the bag that was wrapped around his head.
Correct.
Can you describe what you saw on 176M?
This is a photograph of JJ's head after the bag has been removed. And it better shows the strip of duct tape that is covering his mouth.
And what do you see in 176N?
This is the strip of duct tape that has been removed from his mouth. We photographed it, and then we submitted to law enforcement. All of these things on JJ, all the duct tape and the bag on the head, that was all sealed and submitted to law enforcement.
Doctor, if you can describe what you observed in 176O.
Again, this is a photograph of JJ's forearms and wrists and hands being bound with multiple layers of duct tape.
And 176Q.
So similar to the bag on the head and the duct tape on the head, we made a single cut along the duct tape. And what this does is it exposes the forearms, which show evidence of decomposition. And it also reveals that JJ's wrists were further bound with additional duct tape.
And Doctor, I'd normally ask you to point that out with a pointer on the screen where we don't have the screen. Is this where my pen is pointing the additional duct tape you were speaking of?
Yes.
You can tell the jury what you saw in 176R.
So this is the duct tape that is wrapped around JJ's forearms and wrists and hands. It's been removed. We take a photograph of it, and then we submit it to law enforcement.
And was that, when that was removed, can you describe how that was removed?
Yeah, similar to the bag and the duct tape around the face and the head. We made a single cut and then carefully removed it.
And 176S, what was that?
So this is just a photograph of the same thing, but this is showing the um, inside of the duct tape that was touching JJ's skin. And you can see there's a significant amount of decomposition fluid and staining on the inside.
And if you can describe what you saw in 176P.
So this is a close-up of the duct tape around JJ's wrists. So after we remove the multiple wraps of duct tape around his arms and his wrists and his hands, there was an additional duct tape that was binding his wrists together.
And doctor, if I can ask, again, without a pointer, is this the duct tape, the additional duct tape around his wrists?
Correct.
And then is this material on the side, is that the outer layer of duct tape?
That's correct.
And what is shown in 176T?
So similar to the other duct tape, we removed this duct tape. We made a single cut. We laid it out, took a photograph of it, and submitted it to law enforcement. You can see on this duct tape, there's also decomposition, staining, and some dirt and other debris on the duct tape.
And 176U.
This is the duct tape that's been removed, again, just flipped over. So this is on the outside.
What did you observe in States Exhibit 176V?
This was the disposable diaper that JJ was wearing. And you can see on the right side, it's white. And then on the left side, it's stained with decomposition fluid. And that's why it has a darker appearance to it.
Detective, can you describe what you see in States Exhibit 176X?
This is a photograph of JJ's face after everything has been removed. The duct tape, just to get a photograph of his face with everything removed.
Can you describe what you see in 176Y?
This is a photograph of JJ's face, chest, abdomen, external genitalia, and his upper extremities. This essentially is showing the extent of the decomposition of JJ. You can see there's green discoloration in some areas, especially the face. The chest and abdomen show areas of green discoloration and a tan brown leathery appearance. There's also evidence of skin slippage. And then there's also some small white mold formation on the body as well.
And doctor, skin slippage is probably self-explanatory, but just for purposes of the record and for the jury, can you explain what you mean when you say skin slippage?
So during the decomposition process, the skin starts breaking down and it starts sloughing away. So those patches on his chest and his abdomen, those are areas where the skin is starting to slip away.
And do you notice a difference on the forearms in this picture?
Yes. So you can see the forearms do look different. There's a well demarcated line that starts at about the elbow. And the reason it looks different is that's where the duct tape was wrapped around his forearms.
If you can describe what you see in 176AA.
This is a photograph of JJ's lower body, again showing the decomposition changes involving very similar to the upper body, but on the lower extremities as well, with green and tan brown skin discoloration and skin slippage.
You can describe what you see in 176BB.
This is a photograph of JJ's back. We do this on all of our cases, just so we get good documentation and photograph of the back of the head and the neck and the back. And this is simply showing very similar decomposition changes, which predominantly in the back was diffuse green skin discoloration. There was skin slippage on the back as well and on the buttocks.
You describe what you see in 176CC.
This is a photograph of JJ laying face down and now looking at the lower extremities. Again, just showing the decomposition changes at the lower extremities. And you can see there's extensive skin slippage and partial degloving or skin slippage of the feet.
Doctor, if you can describe what you see in 176DD.
So this is a photograph of JJ's right upper arm. And during this autopsy, I was essentially, like we talked about during the external examination, I was looking for any evidence of natural disease or any evidence of trauma that could help explain why JJ may have died. So this jumped out to me. This was a bruising on the lateral right upper arm, or at least what appeared to be bruising to my eye.
And did you do any further tests to verify that bruising?
Yes. So I briefly discussed it yesterday, but decomposition can cause areas to look like bruising. So to confirm that it was, I made multiple incisions and I looked for hemorrhage in the subcutaneous tissue to confirm that it was true bruising. In addition to that, I did take sections of the areas and looked at it under the microscope as well, to looking for hemorrhage in the tissues.
States Exhibit 176E.
So this is a close-up photograph of the bruise that I just described on the right upper arm.
In States Exhibit 176FF. What was happening there?
So this is the bruising on the right upper arm, and I've made an incision, and I'm looking for a hemorrhage in the subcutaneous tissue. And if you can see, I'm I'm holding it up with the forceps to show that there is hemorrhage in the subcutaneous tissue.
And again, without the benefit of a pointer, is this the area you're referring to? And where that color appears to be darker, is that what you're referring to?
That's correct.
And so did that lead you to a conclusion as to the bruising?
That led me to believe that that was true bruising, and it wasn't just artifactual bruising or from the decomposition process.
What did you observe in States Exhibit 176 GG?
So this is a photograph of JJ when he's face down, and this is a photograph of the left upper arm. And there was an area of concern for bruising on the left upper arm as well.
And again, without the benefit of a pointer, I'll use my pen. Is this the area you're referring to?
Yes.
What did you observe in 176 HH?
So similar to the right arm, I made an incision into that area on the left arm looking for subcutaneous hemorrhage. You can see there is focal hemorrhage in the subcutaneous tissue. It's located near the bottom left portion of the incision.
And did that lead you to any conclusions about, and just to be clear, is this the area you're speaking of?
Yes.
Did that lead you to any conclusions about the nature of that, those markings?
Yes, again, I believe that it was true bruising.
Can you describe what you observed in 176 II?
This is a photograph of JJ's right hand. One, you can say there's extensive skin slippage and partial degloving of the skin. And then also what jumped out to me, you can see the right thumb. I believe we discussed it yesterday, the right subungual hemorrhage. So you can see his right thumbnail shows diffuse bright red hemorrhage.
We spoke yesterday about type of force necessary to cause something like that, correct?
Correct.
And just because it was yesterday, if you could just briefly remind the jury of your testimony on that matter.
Yeah, so in order to get something like that, there has to be some kind of trauma or some kind of force to that area. And I think yesterday I gave the example of, you slam your finger in the door, you're going to get that subungual hemorrhage. Not saying that's what happened, but you have to have some kind of force impacting that area to get hemorrhage like that.
You can describe what you saw in 176 JJ.
This is a photograph of JJ's left lower extremity near his ankles, upper shin area. I believe I touched on it yesterday that there were some areas that looked concerning for bruising after we removed the duct tape from his ankles. So this is the area I was talking about. You can see the skin, for the most part, is light green discoloration. And then the area, there is a focal area that has a very dark appearance to it. So to the naked eye, I thought that this very well could represent bruising.
And did you do any follow-up testing on that?
Yes, I did the same thing that I did with the upper arms. I made multiple incisions.
And did you, what were your findings?
I did not see any subcutaneous hemorrhage. in the tissues on either the left ankle or the right ankle.
Doctor, if you can describe what you observed in State's Exhibit 176 LL.
So this is a photograph of JJ's neck. Specifically, it's the left side of his neck. You can see on the upper portion of the photograph is his left ear. And there is a collection of brown to dark brown to red scratch-like abrasions, some of them with dark red hemorrhage that involve the left side of the neck and near the left angle of the jaw.
In State's Exhibit 176 MM. Is that the same thing?
Yes, this is a close-up. Again, you can see the vast majority of the skin has this faint kind of green skin discoloration, and then there's a fairly large collection of linear and irregular light brown to dark brown to red scratch-like abrasions on the neck and angle of the jaw.
Why was that of note to you?
Well, in any case, and especially a case like this, you want to simply document every injury that you find. So that's important. Also, at least in my experience, they look like scratch-like abrasions. So it's important in this case, considering there's a white plastic bag over his head, are these scratch-like abrasions from the individual putting the plastic bag over his head?
Judge, I'm going to object at this point. Calls for speculation.
Your Honor, I don't think he's speculating. He's talking about different methods by which those abrasions could occur.
It's overruled.
It could also be from JJ himself trying to get the bag off of his head. I wasn't there. I don't know. But these are the types of things that go through my head and the possibilities.
Thank you. And again, doctor, just because we had a bit of time between yesterday and today, based on your opinion, what was the cause of death of JJ Vallow?
I determined the cause to be asphyxia by plastic bag over the head and duct tape covering the mouth.
Your Honor, I'd ask that the witness now be shown what's been marked as State's Exhibit 177A through EE. Doctor, if you can quickly, or just take your time, I guess, and review those and let me know when you've had a chance to review them.
Okay. Okay.
Do you recognize what's been marked as State's Exhibit 177 and its subparts?
Yes.
What do they purport to be?
These are photographs that were taken during Tylee's autopsy.
And were you present when those photographs were taken?
Yes.
Are they true and accurate representations of what you observed during that autopsy?
Yes.
And would those photographs aid you in explaining your testimony and your findings to the jury?
Yes.
Your Honor, I'd ask for the admission of State's Exhibit 177A through 177E into evidence.
Any objection?
No objection from the defense, Judge.
All right. Exhibits 177A through EE are all admitted.
And may I publish?
At this point, Mr. Wood, I'm going to have a break